Is there anything you'd like to ask or?
Okay, so the only other thing I was going to ask,
Go for it.
I don't think we've covered it.
Yeah.
Is why do you think, we kind of, I suppose, but why do you think the male and female roles seem to be kind of switching a little bit or dulling down? There's not such a masculine role and a feminine role.
Do you mean
in modern
Western society, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Women seem to be sleeping around now. Women seem to be doing things that they are not naturally designed to do, and men are doing the same, opposite.
Yes. Why do I think it's happening? I think for a long time, the roles have been so well defined and there had been no flexibility in them. So let's say these roles, as I'm not saying it is this, but let's say these roles work for 80% of people. For 20% of people, maybe it didn't work for them and they didn't have the freedom to choose something else. There was enough people who wanted the freedom to choose something else that obviously, and I agree, women should obviously have equal rights, be able to choose and do whatever it is that they want. Same with men. But there was enough people who wanted the freedom for flexibility to choose something else, which is why this happened. And because it was a very modern narrative and forward thinking, a lot of our media heavily promotes this because it's kind of, they see it as it's given permission for people to choose something different, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think what I personally think has been detrimental is when, if somebody does want to be more traditional or want to choose a more traditional role, or, you know, if a woman wants to do the traditional women things and a man wants to do it, they're told that it's wrong and that, you know, they're kind of berated for that choice. So it's the same as, you know, we celebrate women who go out and, you know, have ambitious careers, which is great, but then they will criticize women who say, I just want to be a good wife and a good mother. Do you know what I mean? And I agree, people should have the choice, but I think that's why I think it's started to switch, because women have started to gain the positions that men have traditionally taken. And because of that as well, I think for men, men, especially our generation, we've been told that masculinity is bad and toxic. So a lot of young men don't think it's right to berate the things that are innately masculine about themselves because society has told them as such. But then the irony is that we promote this kind of masculinity in women.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I just find it's funny that way.
I actually think that feminine men are more dangerous than masculine men. Because they're unstable. I don't disagree with you, but tell me why. They're unstable. They're erratic.
Well, maybe
there's a lot of men out there that are fighting for women's rights, and then they're the ones that are shouting at women or swearing or, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah,
I just think it tips the balance and it makes them really unhinged.
I think well, first off, I'd say no one is all masculine or all feminine.
Yeah.
So, you know, we all have masculine and feminine qualities. There are some men who are more naturally feminine, and if that's natural to them, you know, all for them, that's fine. But I think what you're talking about, and I said this before, I think a man who is like an active feminist, I think is a big red flag, personally.
Yeah.
Not that he believes in equality, obviously, that goes without saying, but if he is extremely vocal in how much of a feminist he is, I'm like, I feel like there's like an ulterior motive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be. But do you think, so the male and female roles,
yes,
there does seem to be a tip in the balance. And I do think it does affect society. Women are getting older and they're regretting being feminists. And they're thinking, okay, so I go to this high-powered job and I come home to nobody.
Yeah.
It's empty.
Yes.
I've got all this money and no one to share it with. It's completely empty.
Yeah.
So
half the time they don't want to share it with a man anyway. They want a man to bring his own.
Yeah. Oh, I did see a podcast actually a few days ago.
Yes.
And the man was saying he wants a sugar mama, which I find bizarre.
I've had a sugar mama before.
You had a sugar mama. And
Yeah.
how did that work?
It was fun.
But what was the setup? What was your input to it?
What was my input?
Yeah. Did she just send you stuff? Did you have to see her?
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I guess sugar daddy is different to sugar mama. No, it was more. So half the women I've dated have been older than me.
Okay.
And she was.
See, I wouldn't say that's a sugar mama.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Maybe not then.
Maybe
it was just
is that like a cougar?
Yeah, but she was very wealthy, and every time we went out, she would pay for everything. So she'd pay for dinner, hotels, everything. She didn't just send me money randomly.
Did it make you feel less manly? Did you just enjoy it? You just
I
slapped it up.
I was like, yo, this is what it's like to be a girl. Bring it on, man. Bring it on. I'll take it. Because like guys, it's rare that we're ever treated like that. Like so full time.
In my relationship I've just got out of, he learnt to drive later on in life. So I was driving and he couldn't stand it because he was like, no, I'm the man. I should be driving you around.
Yes.
And then as soon as he got his license, I wasn't driving anymore. He drove the car everywhere and I had to sit as a passenger.
Yes.
And that's fine. Or if we went somewhere, he has to pay. Like he was very much like that. And it would be insulting if I offered to pay and things like that. But then that was one of his reasons why we finished, is because he said that I don't offer to pay, even though the whole relationship, he was like offended if I tried to pay for something.
Yeah, I think the mistake we can make is we associate whoever has more money or whoever's providing more financially is the more masculine one. So with this example of the sugar mama I had or whatever, right? When I was dating this woman, even though she was paying for things, I was probably still making the decision on things.
Okay.
And I was still leading in certain ways that maybe we would classify as masculine. So it's not about the money, but I think what it is, it's whoever is providing is the one who has the financial power, but you can give that power to someone in order to lead you. Does that make sense? So it's like, you can have, because you can have a woman. So for example, Martin Luther King with his wife, he wasn't earning anything. She was the one working and earning money, but he was definitely the leader masculine in the relationship because his purpose was so great. Like there were not financial benefits to the purpose that he had, right? But he was very much the masculine and the leader in that relationship with his wife, even though she was the one who was actually out earning him. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I had a phase in the relationship where, because he was always a singer, but it wasn't always his full-time job.
Yeah.
And he was working in the airports and he was miserable. But he wanted to take the leap into being a singer, but he also needed to provide.
Yes.
And I was like, look, we can have less, just go for it. Just do it. It's going to make you happy. Nothing matters. Just do it. And it actually turned out really well. So I suppose for a time things had reduced, down, and you just have to sort of, things to me aren't important anyway.
Yeah.
Things really are not important. And I've never been one of those women that is like, right, I need this much money. He'd be like, oh, here's £100, go and get some clothes. And I'd end up spending it on, elsewhere. So
yes.
I never demanded anything like that. There are some women that are really demanding.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I haven't got that in me. I just think it's weird.
Yeah. And I think in answer to what you said before about he was like, oh, you didn't offer to contribute and stuff. And you're like, but you told me not to. That was on him. Like if he said to you, I don't like it when you offer, I don't want you to pay him for anything. And then he criticizes you.
He was very strong in the male and female roles,
I think there's a level of strength that comes with being flexible in the sense of, so not that suddenly you now take the role he does, but if you say you want to treat you guys, he shouldn't be offended by that. He should be like, oh, she wants to treat me. That's really nice. And I think if you're so, I don't want to say insecure, but if you can't adapt, right? I think being able to adapt is a sign of strength, because if you don't adapt, you die, right? And like you said, like if there's a time when he lost his job and you have to cover you for 6 months to a year, is he gonna feel that completely out of place, or is he gonna still be in his strengths?
He's not happy with that situation,
which is fine.
He wouldn't be happy with that situation. He always had to be the man.
Mm.
He didn't like to be anything lower than that.
I don't think a woman treating you makes you less of a man.
Yeah, that's because of your situation, though. So, but
But
okay. So let me ask you then.
most women I've
What
dated,
went
I've
wrong?
been
What went wrong in that situation that you was in that
nothing went wrong.
relationship?
Nothing went wrong, but it's just being honest. We knew we weren't going to get married and have kids. She was like 20 years older than me. She was 18 years older than me. So like we both knew that we both enjoyed the companionship and the physical intimacy side of that, but it wasn't like this was going to be the woman I was going to
So you
marry.
would date an older woman, but you wouldn't marry an older woman?
No, I would. I mean, she was 18 years older than me. Like she was past the point of having kids. But an ex of mine was 9 years older than me, and yeah, there was one point I thought I was going to marry her, just didn't work out.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
yeah, I'll take that.